loving God, may the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in your sight, O God, my rock and my redeemer. Amen. I may have to sacrifice myself for the cause. That's what Jesus told the disciples. I may have to sacrifice myself for the cause. Now, if you were sitting around the campfire with Jesus, sharing dinner and talking about the mission, maybe planning the next steps, and he said this, how would you react? How would you react? You might say something like Peter did. Whoa, wait a minute. This is important. But is it worth your life? Is it worth your life? That's what we might say. And essentially that's what Peter said. So the question is, what is righteousness? Not what is right. What is righteousness? And what is it worth? It's probably easier to describe what righteousness is not. It's not self-righteousness, When we decide that our way or our opinion is the only correct one, and that everyone else are idiots, we're being self-righteous. And when we're in that mode, we simply do not listen to the other side. We don't. And we judge without considering the circumstances around another person's opinions or actions. And we define right and wrong in concrete terms. And sometimes, perhaps often, we think about right and wrong as being totally synonymous with legal and illegal. For instance, sometimes illegal is right and legal is wrong. Sometimes it is. Doesn't make it any less legal or illegal. It just is. For instance, if you were driving down the highway, okay, and you've just passed a sign that reads, "No stopping," and the car in front of you runs off the road. People are injured. Do you stop to help? Well, if you do, you have, at least technically, committed a crime. But stopping is probably the right thing to do. Technically not the legal thing to do, but the right thing to do. And yet, a self-righteous person might say that she didn't stop, just drove past because she couldn't stop on the highway. In another case, is it righteous to declare that what you believe is the only right way for everyone? Many religious people think so. Probably many non-religious people think so. But many religious people work very hard to convince everyone else. Is homosexuality a sin? I don't think it is any more a sin than heterosexuality or sexuality itself. Oh, wait. Practicing is a sin, right? So get it right the first time. And you won't have to practice. Many people who call themselves Christians are very, very self-righteous. There's only one way to be Christian, and it's my way. And you are all wrong. Is that righteous? That's the question. Is that righteous? Now, when I write these things, I do a little research. I know most of you don't believe that, but I do. And I looked in the dictionary. And it says that righteousness, at least one definition, is purity of heart. Purity. And it includes the things that we call justice, honesty, and virtue. Now, we've all heard that those people who are just, those who are honest, and those who are virtuous will achieve the realm of heaven. If you don't remember this particular reference, you may want to check out the Sermon on the Mount in Matthew or the Sermon on the Plain in Luke. Because we need, each one of us, to do a little heart check. A little heart check, not an EKG. Okay, a heart check. When we take an action, are our motives pure? Or are they self-promoting? Do we stop to help? Or do we stop because we see the news truck there and we might make the news? Or do we make sure that somebody has their cell phone so we can be posted on the web? Are we honest with ourselves about why we do things? That means for each one of us, all of us, recognizing that sometimes our motives may not be all that pure. Perhaps we give to charity because we really, 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 really want that tote bag. Not because the cause is good and worth our giving money. It means that sometimes our actions are not just. And we need to accept the injustice of what we do. You know, perhaps we sue someone in court. Not because we were really harmed, but because we can get a big settlement. Coffee in the lap suit a few years ago is probably a good example of blaming others for our own mistakes. You know, another one is, if you hadn't dissed me, I would not have had to beat you up. And you can come up with 7,000 other examples, right? Where we protect ourselves, at least in our own heads, by assuming that what we did is right, therefore the result is not our fault. It's not our problem. You know, maybe righteousness is just accepting, recognizing that sometimes we have to do what is difficult simply because it's the right thing to do. It's not maybe the correct thing, but it's the right thing. You understand what I'm saying? You know, sometimes we accept risk. We accept risks of injury, physical, economic injury, mental injury, because we need to do the right thing. I think that that's what Jesus was telling the disciples. Peter objected to the acceptance of risk. Whoa, wait a minute. whoa, wait a minute. Maybe he objected because he knew that Jesus was bent on going to Jerusalem to stand up to the religious authorities and the secular authorities. And he knew that that was not just risky, it was almost certainly fatal. And yet, Jesus was determined. He knew it was the right thing to do. It was just, it was honest, it was virtuous. It was right. So, this week, as we go from this place into our secular lives, let's consider with every decision what is right. What is right? And when we face a decision, let's look at right rather than safe. That doesn't mean that safe and right are never the same thing. Sometimes they are. But consider what is right. And let's look at loving rather than self-protecting. Loving someone else. Doing what is loving rather than what keeps me safe. And let's try to sometimes follow an unsafe, dangerous path. When it makes sense, when it's right. Because that's what good followers of Jesus do. Amen?